It was a cold Christmas morning in 1951 as Patricia Joan Twidell walked down St. Urban Street in Montreal's Chinatown. She was walking with her big brother John, and they were trying to find some place that would be open where they could buy tea and toast for breakfast. The family had just immigrated from England the night before. And the worst part about traveling over Christmas Eve wasn't the fact that they were coming to such a cold country as Canada, but rather the fact that Santa hadn't followed them. This is the story of my mom. And 1951 was a year where she found out all kinds of things. She found out that Canada was very, very cold. She found out that maybe she was questioning the existence of Santa Claus. And later that year, she also found out that she was adopted. When the subject came up with her adoptive mother, Mary, Mary said to her, "We will discuss this one time and one time only." And so discuss it they did. And that's when Mom found out that the people that she had always known as her Aunt Jean and her cousin Rita were in fact her mother and her sister. Now, of course, she had all kinds of questions, but Mary did not necessarily have that many answers for her. What she did have was a photograph of Rita. It showed her to be about 2 years old in that picture, even though it was already a few years old. And Rita was standing in front of a child's play pram. And in that pram was a teddy. And Mom thought back to the last time that she had seen Rita and remembered playing with her with that teddy and how Rita would always call it our teddy. Well, that picture became one of Mom's most prized possessions, and she kept it with her everywhere that she went, including 5 years later when she needed to leave the house. Her brother John had already left to go and travel the world. Her mother Mary was leaving to start a new family with a new husband. And her father, well, he told her that not only was there no room for her in his new apartment, but there was no room for her in his life. And he just left. So Mom didn't have much choice. 15 years old, she quit school and she got a job. She even worked for a while as a resident sitter, meaning that this way she could work all day at her regular job and then go into a family's house for the evenings where she would help the mother. She would cook meals and she would take care of the kids. And by doing things that way, it left her enough extra money where she could send half of her paycheck home to her mother with her new starting family. And with what was left, she could buy her lunches, she could buy her bus tickets, and she had enough left over, so on Saturday nights, she could go to Mike Stern's record hop. This was probably the only thing that she did that was like any other teenager, where she got to go out and dance and have fun. And it's really a good thing that she did too, because that's what put her on the proper path to eventually meet my dad. And the two of them got married in 1962, and by 67 had 3 children. It was during that time that Mom really started to wonder more and more about her birth mother and about her sister. She started to wonder whatever became of them and why she was ever given up. But she gained determination then, and she decided, I'm going to try and find them. But would she be able to? And was anyone looking for her? England, late 1980s. Kevin and Frankie Miles decided to just pop in and visit Frankie's mom and dad. This was a close, tight-knit family of 6 siblings, and it wasn't unusual for any of them to just stop in for a cuppa. And that's exactly what happened this particular day. But what was unusual is that it seemed that there was a bit of a spat going on. Kevin remembers walking into the house and hearing someone say, "Well, she gave up her daughter," as he turned then to see his mother-in-law Jean walk out of the room in tears. Kevin and Frankie had no idea what was going on, but it did start the conversation. It turns out that there was this deep family secret where several people had little pieces of information, but no one had the full story. But with a little bit of work, they were able to put the story together. It turns out that while Jean had been engaged to her first husband, she had become pregnant. He had then gone missing during the war, and Jean succumbed to pressure and gave her daughter up for adoption. But then her fiancé was found, they married, and had their daughter Rita. and then he passed away. Jean remarried and had 3 more girls and 2 boys, and this was the close family of 6 siblings. But then they realized that someone was missing, that Rita had a full sister and the rest of them had a half sister who was not there with them. And Kevin was the one who said, well, we should do something about this. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon in the suburbs of Montreal in 2004 when Mom's phone rang. It was her big brother John, and the two of them had remained phenomenally close over the years, even though he had moved all the way to California. One thing that John had done is he had worked very hard to never lose his charming British accent. And Mom was always thrilled to get a phone call from her big brother. And he said to her, "Patricia dear, it seems someone is looking for you." It turns out that in a move of vanity, really, John had decided to enter his own name into an internet search engine. And he came across a posting. It was from 3 years earlier. And it said, essentially, looking for any information regarding Twidell family from Derby, England, circa 1940s. In particular, Patricia Joan Twidell. Now you see, John and my mom were both adopted. There was no blood relation. So it was just my mom that they were looking for. Mom had started looking for them over 40 years earlier. And John, well, he just happened to be looking. And he was the one who was able to finally put everyone together who had been looking for each other. There was a lot of trepidation at first, a lot of confusion, a lot of people wondering, is this some type of con? But eventually we all realized that it's not, and it's happening. And within a matter of months, Mom was on a plane to England to meet her family. She was picked up at the airport by Kevin and Frankie and whisked to a reunion at her sister Rose's house. As she pulled up to the house, there was a banner hanging that said simply, "Welcome home." Mom went into the doorway and she was able to meet for the first time her brothers and her sisters and her nieces and her nephews and all these people that up until months before she had no idea even existed. Unfortunately, there were 2 people who were missing. Jean had passed away just a few short years before and would never have known that her family would be reunited. Rita was a little bit nervous about meeting her big sister after so much time, and so as a result, she was simply running late. Well, when Mom got word that Rita had arrived, she did something that a lot of grandmothers could certainly understand, and she grabbed the nearest baby to hold in front of her like a shield as she went to go meet her sister. Well, as she walked into the room, she didn't realize that Rita would also have her own shield, and she saw her standing there, clasping her teddy, and she held it up to Mom and said, "I brought our teddy for you."